This is Dallas Cowboy Talk. How are ya doing? We are back for another discussion. This one hits close to both of our hearts. The discussion of who's better, Barry Sanders or Emmitt Smith. Now I get it. Barry Sanders, athletic and physically, okay, you take him over Emmitt. Because the things he could do, when you see him run, he was just that electric. Emmitt was just more of a power run type running back.
Right.
I know this is Dallas Cowboys Talk. We are both Dallas Cowboys fans, but you know what? I said to myself, when I decided to do this, I'm going to give a real, unbiased opinion. That's it. Now.
It's going to be interesting.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be interesting. And I came up with some interesting facts and stuff about these two players that we're about to talk about. You know, Barry, much celebrated out of Oklahoma State, 89, and probably the greatest top 5 in NFL history. That 1989 draft, when you had Troy Aikman number 1, you had the bust Tony Mandritz at 2, you had Barry Sanders at 3, you had was it Derek Thomas, and then Deion, all Hall of Famers besides Tony Mandritz, and then you had Emmitt, who came out in 90. People say, oh, he's too small. They're always messing with him.
Jimmy Johnson said he's small and mighty. He said we're just going to ride this horse until the wheels fall off.
He was the man. And as far as a criteria, what would you put as the deciding the greatest running back?
Most people would say durability.
Durability.
But everybody always about championship. I always say championship. Number goes. A lot of factors should go win, but I think durability, what he meant to the team,
stats,
that all comes into play.
Everything.
So does come into play.
There's a lot of factors. I know one of the biggest things against Emmitt Smith is
the Great Wall.
The Great Wall. Now that's the main thing that people like to throw at Emmitt. Oh, he had offensive line and and all this. Here's where I'm coming from with that. Now, what do you think of Joe Montana?
Among the greatest quarterbacks to ever play. I'm not gonna be like everybody say he is the greatest. Amongst the greatest to ever play the game.
Now, before Brady did his thing, I think they would all say Joe Montana was the greatest quarterback, whatever. Here's my thing with this. And didn't Joe Montana, he played on the San Francisco 49ers.
Yes.
He had that guy as a receiver.
Yep.
The greatest player, not only wide receiver, but the greatest player in NFL history. He had one of the greatest coaches ever. He had, at that time, the best organization.
Solid running back.
He had Roger Craig. He should be in the Hall of Fame. Tom Rathman, the fullback. A really good offensive line. Let's flip it to the defense. He had Ronnie Lott.
Yes, he did.
He had 3 of the 4 made the Pro Bowl. He had a good defensive line. Fred, he had it all.
Yes, he did.
How can you call him the greatest when at every position from top to bottom, off the field, on the field, he had it all?
Yes, he did.
So can't you use that for Emmitt? Hey, he had a great offensive line. And people stop saying Larry Allen was there the whole time. He came in 1994.
Yeah.
He was only there for one of them Super Bowls, not all 3 of them. People like to make that little mistake that he was there
all the time. No.
And that Dallas Cowboy, that Great Wall, had interchangeable parts because Mark Stepnowski, he wasn't there for the 95.
Nope.
Gogan wasn't there. So, I just had to put that out there because I'm tired of people putting that against Emmitt.
Well, you know, they also blame Emmett for Troy, but that's a whole different story.
And that is a whole different story.
That's a whole different story.
That's a slight against Troy.
Right.
Oh, well, you had Emmett.
They say, oh, he wasn't a good. He didn't pass the ball. I said, that dude was as accurate as they come when he had to pass the ball. But still, even with a good offensive line, you still got to carry the ball.
Yeah. So, you have Barry and Emmett. Now, you remember, they only played 4 times during their career that they played against each other. And the first time was in 91. That's when Dallas was still, trying to figure it out and
working things out.
They went 11-5 that year. Detroit was the much better team, actually. And Dallas lost in that first regular season game, 34-10. But Emmett had 66 yards and Barry had 55. The second time they played, that's the playoff game where Troy, they said Troy might come back, and Troy was, moaning and complaining he should be the starter because remember he was injured.
Right.
Good part of the season, and Steve Berline got him to the playoffs.
Right.
So they lost 38-6. Barry had 68 yards and a touchdown while Emmett had 80, but you see they got mollywopped.
Right. Hard.
So here comes 1992, and that's 1992. That is the year Dallas ascends. They slaughter Detroit 37-3, and Barry he had a $108, so he had a good game, while Emmett had 67 and 3 touchdowns.
Short field.
Yeah, Dallas was smacking them.
They were getting short fields.
They were smacking them all up that particular game.
Yeah.
Actually, the other running back who had more yards than Emmett was Curvin Richards. Blast from the pass. That's the brother at the end, last regular season game, Curvin Richards, who fumbled against the Bears
and got cut.
Jimmy was like,
go to asthma field.
Yeah, he sent it to the asthma field all right.
I love that one.
He sent it to the asthma field.
Go to the asthma field.
I don't even think he got on the bus. Because, Dallas was handling him in that game.
And he told him, don't fumble the ball.
He said, don't fumble that ball. And look what he did. He fumbled. Bye. So, as of right now, they played 3 times. Barry's team, 2. Dallas, Emmett's 1.
Right.
So, they played in this particular game, the Monday Nighter, 1994, 20-17, overtime win by the Lions. That was that game. Now you got they're both Russian champions, and Emmett he had a $143 and a touchdown, while Barry Sanders on 40 attempts had 194. The Lions won.
Yeah, they rammed it down their throats.
So out of these 4 matchups, who was the better team? I guess you got to say Detroit, huh?
Yes, but I always tell
matchups
people
when they played each other.
Any given Sunday. You never know who's going to win the way the chips may fall. You might get that extra effort from that one corner that you haven't got anything from all year and just wanted to play his best for that one game against that top receiver. Then the next week, he's like crap. So if you do the head-to-head, I guess Detroit was the better team on those 4 head-to-heads.
Yeah.
Give or take.
I think Emmett had the yards, but Lions won. So when you think of these 2 running backs, Emmett, of course, is the all-time leading rusher. He played more years than Barry Sanders. So when you got these 2, who's better?
And then
just let me throw this out right quick. Of course, Emmett, all-time leading rusher, yards, attempts, touchdowns. Barry Sanders retired early. We know he would have, maybe done it. But this is something that shocked me. Barry Sanders was an all-pro his whole career.
Yeah, because he played behind a line that was just like,
I think that is fascinating. That is amazing that you played your whole career, which was 10 seasons, and you was a first team or second team all-pro. his worst year, he only had was like 1,100 yards. That was his worst year. He had 1,000 yards every single year.
My biggest thing is also, a lot of people don't take into consideration also is divisional games. Also ease of schedule depending on where your team actually lands at the end of the season. If you're not a playoff team, you expect the easier schedule the next go around. So your team that you're facing may not have that defense that's going to stop you every single time. So a lot of that stuff will come into consideration. People would say EMMITT because of the Russian titles.
They both had 4.
And
both were MVPs.
So it's one of those like, you would say Barry because Barry did more with less. Because he would have shattered the record first.
Yeah.
Even though he was a year ahead. So naturally he would break it first. So you have to put that into consideration. What he played with in there. He didn't have a star receiver on the outside. Didn't have that main quarterback under center, blah, blah. So you would give that edge to Barry. But I still say you still have to run the ball. Because even when the Great Wall started to fall apart, EMMITT was still getting his yards.
Yep.
And even when Moose got hurt,
yep,
he was still getting his yards because he was that power guy. So and you played in the NFC East where they just like to take the run and try to grab it by the throat, and it was harder to run in the East.
So who would you take?
They didn't use neither one of them as much in the passing game, whereas you do now.
Yeah, you're right.
They didn't use much of them in the passing game. But you know what? In all truthfulness, Zeke reminds me of Barry because he has that ability. Yeah. So I would naturally say, because of the way the Cowboys run now, I would take Barry. But I know that in those grind them out games that our quarterback seems to get us in every once in a while, I have to take EMMITT because he's going to grind it out.
So you would take EMMITT?
I would have to take EMMITT because he's proven the power, the quickness enough to get what you got to get, but he also brings the power.
I debated this within myself because, like I said earlier, Barry Sanders, we would probably never see a Barry Sanders type runner. He was amazing, but he also has a NFL record for the most lost yardage because of that zigzag in his style. You know, he has the record for most lost yardage. So, but if I had to take one, for me, I would take EMMITT because now Barry was durable as well. Yeah. He only missed, I believe, 7 games in his career. Yeah. EMMITT, he missed, I believe, about 14. And that's including the 2 years in Arizona. Right. I just feel like EMMITT wanted it more. He wanted that record. I don't think Barry wanted that record.
Barry said he stopped because he had respect for Peyton and didn't want to break it.
He didn't want to break it, but EMMITT wanted it.
Yes, he did.
So for me, I got to go with EMMITT because he was just a solid pro football player. Good blocker. He was a real good blocker. When needed to catch passes out the backfield, could, like you said, they didn't really do it that much. No. And just a determined running back. The greatest drive, in my opinion, in Super Bowl history was Super Bowl 28 against Buffalo. Yes. All day, all night. One play, and Buffalo couldn't stop it. Dallas decided to run that ball down their throat. So I got to go with EMMITT.
Oh, I remember that. I think
that was the best.
Passed one time on that opening drive.
That was the best. That was it. All right, folks. We both had to go with EMMITT. I'm sure there's some people out there. Let us know what you think because, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of people that like Barry. You can also check out my podcast. I have a couple of podcasts on Podomatic.com. You can check out Cowboys all day, every day, and Dallas Cowboy Raw. Peace.